that basket that the tree was like touching almost, they completely butchered that tree. So that is
Really
completely gone, and I'm very sad.
fascinating. So after Alex Russell's post, they just came in with like a chainsaw and said, "Bye bye
This is
tree."
where I'm interested is like if there is enough pushback on certain things like that, is the PDGA or the tournament directors, are they willing to kind of bend over backwards for the players, for like the outspoken players? Because it would be interesting to see like a poll taken on like how many people don't like that. Because again, I'll say my point. I think I said it in a couple of the practice round videos. That whole, if there's no wind, again, this is all different because obviously this course plays way differently in heavy winds. But if there's no wind for the top players, that hole is a stock hyzer, puts you in spot, and then you have like a 270-foot upshot, and now it's like a 200-foot upshot where it's like you can pretty much throw almost anywhere and make a birdie. Where before, like it was a stressful upshot because you knew if you went left or long right, you were in the tree and you were going to have a putt. So you had to land short right, kind of in this little pocket to make sure you had a putt. And so you had to be very precise with that upshot. And to me, it just kind of makes that hole kind of like blah now because there's really no protection really. And so I'd be curious. I haven't really talked to too many people. Ezra obviously loves it. He hated the tree being there. But for me, like,
Why did he not like the tree?
what's that?
Why did he not like the
He's
tree?
in the realm, which I think a lot of people are, of where it's like if you're in the circle, you should have a straightforward putt. And my thought process always is I want things to get harder and harder and harder so that way it benefits and awards the better players. And if we're just allowing people to throw anywhere inside of 33 feet and you have a wide open birdie putt, you're not really, that to me, like, doesn't benefit the people that are more accurate. It's really easy.
Yeah.
Like, if you take someone out and you do, a circle one around the basket, 33 feet, and you give him a 300-foot shot to throw whatever they want, they're going to, like, the top players are probably going to throw it inside of that a lot of times. Even the non-top players, even the guys that are like 70 to like 50 and 50 to 40, they're going to throw into that circle one a lot. But like, you're not really rewarding the guys that are like pinning the basket. Or if you're like, hey, you only can throw it on the right side of the basket circle, that counts. Like, those guys are going to be more accurate. So for me, like, obviously, again, this is one of those things that probably doesn't benefit me to making it harder because there are guys that are way more accurate with those kind of upshots than I am. But again, like, I just want to see good disc golf get rewarded. And I think that is one of those things where now you basically make it to where you have a much bigger piece of the pie, if you will, to land in to have a putt.
I used to be on this thing is interesting because I used to be on the other side of that argument because I kind of just like, I think when you just look at it from a surface level and you don't really analyze it, you just think to yourself automatically like, oh, well, if I land in the circle, I deserve to have a putt. But nowhere, why should you deserve to have a putt just because you get within a certain distance? Now, within like a couple feet of the hole, that's something to be said. But like, disc golf, we shouldn't be trying to make disc golf easier. We should be trying to make it harder. And I think that the upshot game is like the best place to defend holes right now. I really like when there's tricky slopes around greens. And I think that putting, as much as the mozzarella sticks are awful looking at USDGC, they force a very interesting thing. Like you were saying, they make you have to land in certain spots. Another example of this is like when we were just at that naval course in South Carolina, and there's those holes where you have to kind of line up to a little tunnel. So like now your landing zone is forced to a certain amount or you're going to get pinched. I think that's actually a really creative way to defend disc golf holes and something that's not being utilized because I think the players like assume they're entitled. If I throw it within 33 feet, I should have a wide open putt. But that really doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Also, if my whole thing is like, if you want to have that argument, that's fine, but you need to be consistent with every single hole. So hole 16 at Country Club, which is probably the most famous hole, right? The island hole at the Country Club. If you draw a 33-foot radius around that circle, around that basket, there is a lot of area where you're OB. like short left.
Same with the hay bales hole at USDGC.
Yes. And no one ever talks about like how that's not fair or whatever, because
It's only when it's a tree.
It's very like that's where it's like, to me, it's like you have to be consistent of where if you do not like the fact that if you land in a certain area, you do not have a putt for par or a putt for birdie, and it's inside the circle, then you should say that there should be no OB inside circle. You should keep it consistent,
and there are people
because
that say that.
in my head, even though that tree technically is not OB, in my head, it's like if I go short left, I am taking birdie out of play. Now, where I don't like it is on like blind shots. Like if you have blind shots where you can't physically see where the trouble is, and you just have to try to think, like do your best at like gauging. Like I think that's just a little too much. Where, to me, it's like, I think that's where I draw the line. If you can see the trouble and you know it's there, there should be no reason for you not to throw it there. Like we all know it's there, just don't throw it there. So that's my thing is like, I just don't think people that have that take are consistent across the board, of where they'll call out other holes that are technically OB. Memorial hole number 1, another prime example. If you're just left of the basket or just short of the basket, you're in the water and no one's really complaining. So, I don't know. That's all I can say about like the changes as far as, kind of last minute stuff that I saw change from my early practice rounds to when the courses was actually set up on Friday.